Hello everyone and welcome back to Self-Sufficiency with Johnny Lee. Today we're staying in the same lane we've been in, looking at how major religions just didn't spread by love, but rode on the back of power, violence, and empire. We've talked about Christianity. Now we're going to talk about Islam. And I want to be clear at the start. This is not an attack on Muslims as people. This is a critique of Islam as a system, its history, its scriptures, and the way it has been enforced. So if you're Muslim and watching this, I'm not questioning your sincerity. I'm questioning the story you've been handed. You see, Islam didn't fall out of the sky into a vacuum. Muhammad grew up in Arabia, in a world already soaked in religion. To the north and west, powerful Christian empires. To the east, Jewish communities and other monotheists. In Arabia itself, a mix of polytheism and people who were already drifting toward one God ideas. You can see that in the Quran. It constantly talks about Abraham, Moses, Noah, Jesus, Mary. It's interacting with Jewish and Christian stories and then retelling them with a new spin. So basically, they're saying, we're not starting something new, we're correcting what came before. And by the way, about that thing people say, that Muhammad's first wife was Catholic, historically, that doesn't really hold up. She was part of the local Arab society, not a European church. But she did have relatives who leaned toward Christian or other monotheistic beliefs. The point is, he wasn't inventing monotheism from scratch. He was absorbing and remixing ideas that were already in the air. So Islam comes into the world as the third branch of that Abrahamic family tree. Same God of Abraham, allegedly. Same basic storyline. New prophet, new book, new rules. Now here's where people get uncomfortable. We're told Islam is just a religion of peace. But from the very beginning, it's also a political project. Muhammad isn't just preaching. He ends up leading a community, making laws, commanding armies, signing treaties, and fighting wars. When he gains power in what is now Western Arabia, it's not just believe if you want, ignore it if you don't. There's pressure. There are battles. Tribes are told to fall in line with the new faith or they face consequences. After his death, the people who take over, the early caliphs, don't stop. They expand. Within about 100 years, armies coming out of Arabia had conquered most of the Middle East, huge parts of North Africa, big chunks of what we now call Iran, Iraq, Syria, Egypt, eventually all the way into Spain. Did every single person convert at sword point? No. History is more complicated than that. But let's be honest about the pattern. Armies conquer territory. The new rulers are Muslim. If you stay in your old religion, you're second class. You pay special taxes. You have fewer rights. Your religion is tolerated, but controlled. Over generations, people slowly convert because it's easier to be on the winning team. There's a big difference between I listened to the message and freely chose it versus the empire that runs everything believes this, and life is a lot safer if I just go along. Islam, like Christianity, followed power. Where the empire went, the religion went. So when people say, look how fast Islam spread, that proves it's true. No, it proves armies, taxes, and political pressure are effective. Now let's talk about the texts themselves. Again, not every Muslim reads these the same way. But the Quran and the Hadiths contain verses and sayings that clearly link faith to violence and control. There are verses calling for fighting until God's rule dominates. There are commands to fight people of other religions until they submit and pay a special tax. There are sayings attributed to Muhammad that basically say if someone leaves the religion, their life is forfeited. So you don't have to quote chapter and verse here to see the pattern. Belief is not just a private spiritual choice. It's tied to law, war, and punishment. So when modern Muslims say Islam means peace, I always ask, peace for who? For the believer who obeys, or for the person who dares to walk away? This is where it gets very real for people today. In several countries right now, leaving Islam, openly saying I am no longer Muslim, can still bring you legal punishment up to prison or even death. Family rejection and forced marriage, violence from vigilantes, social death, losing your community, your job, and your safety. In some places, the law might not execute you, but the culture will. Even in Western countries, ex-Muslims talk about having to hide their lack of belief, using fake names online, cutting ties with family just to stay safe. That's not what freedom of religion looks like. That is ownership. If you need threats to keep people in your religion, what does that say about the religion? Now, Islam presents itself as the quote-unquote final revelation, the last perfect version. But when you look closely, you can see the DNA. It keeps the same God of Abraham. It keeps many of the same prophets and stories. It keeps similar ideas about law, judgment, heaven, and hell. It's like a religious software update built on top of Judaism and Christianity. They say, in so many words, they had part of the truth. We have the full truth. They corrupted their scriptures. Ours is pure. So now you have three big religions all claiming one God, one true book, one true prophet or set of prophets. And in all three, history is soaked in bloodshed in God's name. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, different branches, same family tree, same idea. Submit to our God or face consequences. So why am I talking about this on a channel about self-sufficiency? Because religion, especially something as powerful as Islam, is one of the strongest ways humans dodge responsibility. If I obey the book, if I follow the prophet, I don't have to wrestle with reality myself. I don't have to face the silence of the universe. I belong to the winning team. But look at the cost. Your identity is handed to you. Your morality is handed to you. Your purpose is handed to you. And if you question it, you risk losing everything, sometimes even your life. That is not freedom, ladies and gentlemen. That is a beautiful prison. Self-sufficiency means this. You look at history honestly, not how the religion markets itself. You admit that the spread of Islam, like Christianity, is tied to conquest, fear, and social pressure. You accept that no book and no prophet can live your life for you. Now let me speak directly to anyone watching this who grew up Muslim. I'm not telling you to go and blow up your life overnight. I know some of you could be killed or cut off if you said what you really think. What I'm telling you is this. You are allowed to investigate. You are allowed to ask how your religion actually spread. You are allowed to notice the violence in the text and say, I don't accept this. And if you need to take those steps quietly for your own safety, then that's okay. Your survival matters more than anybody's doctrine. At the end of the day, whether you stay Muslim, leave Islam, or land in some other place entirely, you are still going to wake up every morning and face your own reflection. That person, not Muhammad, not a caliph, not an imam, is responsible for your life. Islam conquered the Middle East the same way Christianity conquered Europe and the Americas, with armies, with laws, with social pressure, and with the promise of heaven if you submit. and threats if you don't. I'm not asking you to hate Muslims. I'm asking you to stop romanticizing the system. History is what it is, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. No scripture, no prophet, no empire is coming to save you. If you want the truth, you're going to have to do the hardest thing in the world. Stand alone in front of the mirror and dare to think for yourself. Because as I always say, no one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself.